If you're trying to sell something to someone, the best way to do it is make the person think they want it, think they need it. Otherwise, they're not going to be interested. And every salesperson or advertisement takes this into account when trying to sell something to someone or trying to make someone buy something. I think it was Napoleon who said, men are moved by two levers only, fear and self-interest, which means nobody's ever going to do anything unless they're afraid or unless there's something in it for themselves. And that's the reality of human nature. Now, why am I telling you this? What's it relevant to? Well, let's have a think about it. Mass immigration. Mass immigration into Australia, Europe, America, wherever it is you live. Let's have a think about it. Why do we have it? Well, first of all, because a fraction of our people have asked for it. A very small fraction, not the majority. But it's made to seem as though the majority doesn't really mind it all that much. Now, how did this happen? Well, you have in this world an internationalist power, okay, which controls the majority of the wealth in the world. Now, I can imagine some people might think that makes me seem like or sound like some crazy conspiracy theorist, you know, some sort of one world government, new world order crackpot. But really, this is the flat-out truth. There is a minority of people in this world, internationalists, with no loyalty to anything but their own money and power. And the immigration that we're experiencing right now, it's part of a process. Okay, believe it or not, what these internationalists have in mind for us when they're forcing all of this immigration into our countries is not to create some blissful egalitarian society where everyone's brothers and everybody's the same and we all ride unicorns on rainbows and live happily ever after. You know, unfortunately, that's not what they have in mind. There's three stages, main stages, that we have to worry about in this process. The first stage has already passed. That is when this internationalist power infiltrates our countries and ends up buying up our governments. Buys up our governments, our schools and our media. Three main power structures, three main organs of influence, major influence. And one of the first things it does once it has complete control over our governments is it starts a war in the Middle East. Well, it doesn't even start a war, it just invades. For whatever reason, it might give our governments a number of excuses. It might say, oh, we're doing it for resources, or we're doing it to, install democracy by force, or, create justice and peace through war. They'll come up with whatever justification they need, but they'll bomb the hell out of the Middle East, all right? And they'll create all this carnage there and create all these refugees, create a few million refugees. And that's the first stage. The second stage, start bringing in large amounts of foreign people into Europe, America, Canada, New Zealand, all the governments that they've bought up, all the lands that they've bought up, and establish themselves therein. They use the excuse of refugees. First it was immigrants for some multicultural experiment, but now it's refugees, save the refugees. They bring these people in, but in order to bring them in, they have to make our societies seem as though they're asking for it. Otherwise, people will start wondering what the hell's going on. And so, with their control of the schools, it probably takes them about 15 to 20 years to educate a new generation, to get them thinking consistently, or in a manner consistent with the way the internationalists want them to think. These children end up believing that everyone in the world is the exact same, and that nationalism is some sort of evil, incorrect state of mind. And we're all brothers, we're all equal, and we should all be living together, no more borders, no more nations. And so when the refugees start coming in, the majority of them aren't even refugees, the refugee thing is just an excuse, but when all these foreigners start coming in, these egalitarian kids of the new generations, they end up getting jobs as journalists for mainstream media. They present themselves as new candidates, and they're funded indirectly by the internationalists, candidates for parliament. Popular type peoples of influence, professors, they end up being professors to teach the new generations as well. And these people are sort of like the immigrant wardens, the immigration wardens. They use the influence they have in the media, in schools and in government to make it seem as though the whole citizenry wants the immigration. And so the immigration starts flooding in hard. Germany last year took in 1.1 million so-called refugees in a single year. Okay, so that's the second stage. get all these immigrants, all these foreigners into Europe, into Australia, into America, as many as possible. What's the third stage? The third stage is keep bringing them in until a crisis hits. Until now, there's a particular reason why they want Muslim immigrants more than anyone else, because they know Muslims will not assimilate. Okay, Muslims will not abandon the faith of Islam. It's too strong. In very, very rare cases, yes, you'll get apostates, but generally speaking, Muslims will die before they abandon or defect from the faith of Islam. And the internationalists know this. That's the point. That's why they want to bring them in large numbers. That's why they created so many refugees. Bring all these people in until a civil war breaks out. They'll call it civil war, but it will be more of a racial war. Every attack will be racially motivated. But this crisis will be so bad that you will not be able to walk down the streets for a minute to go get a litre of milk without the threat of being raped or murdered. There may even be roadside bombs. It might get that bad. It will be accompanied with an economic crisis as well. These internationalist powers will create so much inflation that the value of our dollar will have decreased so much that everybody's starving and can't afford anything. And so people will have to kill and rob each other just to survive. Home invasions will just be a daily thing everywhere. This will be a war against all of our people. It won't be fought in some faraway land where our soldiers go to fight it for us. No, it will be in our streets, in our homes. And it will be a state of turmoil. There will be ethnic gangs running around slaughtering, raping people. It will be so bad. But this is all part of the process. Once this crisis hits, they drag it out for about a year or so, maybe even longer. But they make sure it lasts a long time. Okay, it makes people suffer for a long time. And then they present themselves, the same internationalists which created the crisis, they present themselves as the solution. They present a new globalist authoritarian regime, a new government that they've concocted. And they say, this is the solution we have for you. They say, this is going to fix everything. This is going to save you. And what's left of the people they're so desperate that they want it. Even though they know that they won't have any freedom or liberty in it, they think at least we'll have security. At least we won't have to be afraid and terrified all the time. And so they'll outstretch their hands and they will accept this new authoritarian global regime. And there you have it. That's exactly the point. That's why we have mass immigration. It's part of the process. And by the way, all the progressive kids, all the indies who like to spend all of their time wondering if a rake is actually a rake, who intellectualize the hell out of everything and create all these crazy concepts, obsess about feminism or abortion or homosexual rights or something else, all those trendy subjects. When the crisis hits, if it hits, it's our mission to prevent it from happening, but when the crisis hits, you're going to die, the majority of you, unless you are shocked enough to see what the beautiful society of equality, of egalitarianism actually means practically, shocked enough to actually realise, shit, I should be a nationalist, not a crazy member of this egalitarian faith. Well, yeah, then you're probably going to die. Because you've served your purpose. Like I said, you're immigration wardens. You're just supposed to make sure all the immigration keeps coming in, all the mosques keep getting built. So, to make the crisis happen as fast as possible. Because I think these internationalists are getting a little bit bored watching us. They want this crisis to happen soon. They want it to happen. But it's our job to stop it, like I said. And there is only one way to stop it. And this is why I say that it's so important to always believe in your own nationality. That's why I say your national spirit is the most important thing you have. Because a people which is nationalised, they in themselves, in their hearts, are nationalised. Their country is nationalised, spiritually as well as physically and economically. They cannot fall victim to this international conspiracy for global power. You get the lickspittles and the traitors out of influence and you replace them. You start to lead your people away from this direction. Get them out of this process. Otherwise, you're going to see this crisis. It's going to surmount in our lifetime. It's coming soon. Like I said, you've already seen the beginning stages in Europe. You think that terror attack in Paris and the mass rapes in Germany, you think that's bad? You haven't seen anything yet, trust me. Any questions?